Yeah, I've seen some of your clips and stuff. You come across very
Oh,
articulated.
you're very kind. Thank you. But
That's because I cut all the other stuff.
yeah.
That's
He cuts it well.
Don't make too many pop culture references because he won't get.
Oh,
yeah?
No, I don't understand much.
This guy doesn't. He's never
I get
seen
all the kids
zero
movies, Toy Story, but
If
Have you seen the Goonies?
he hasn't seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's the first thing is like, okay,
Yeah.
where's this person at? Have you seen the Goonies? No, what's the Goonies? Like, go away.
That's a cultural touchstone, eh?
Yeah. Have you seen Princess Bride?
Mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like classics. Not Kiwi classics, but just to
Just
watch.
classics, yeah.
As you wish. Yeah.
The never ending story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
All of those, yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
A little less child friendly.
Well, I wasn't supervised when I watched that one. I watched The Matrix on the plane recently.
You guys are a bit more grim in Dunedin, eh?
I might have to. No, do you know what? One time when I was at primary school, I got invited to my mate's house. And he's like, "Come over, we'll watch a movie." It's like, sweet. It's like single mum, couple of siblings, moldy, and then he's like, "We'll watch Chucky." And in my mind, I was like, "Oh, Rugrats." And I was traumatized for weeks. Eh? I was like, "What am I watching?"
I didn't watch Chucky either. I couldn't watch it
You used to
either.
watch your ankles, eh? Like check out of the bed, yeah.
Because I just didn't.
I
And I
had the
didn't
same.
click for ages when it started. I was like, "This doesn't look like Rugrats." But then I was too polite to like leave.
Of all the horrors, that's the one that always used to freak me out.
Yeah.
Should I search it up?
Yeah.
You've never seen Chucky? Oh, don't watch it, man. It'll give you nightmares. Anyway, guys, welcome back. And we have a special guest today, Mr. Billy Brown. First guest, actually. Did you know?
Really?
Yeah.
We've had a few guests lined up, and then they're just too good for us. But you're a man of the people.
Yeah.
You're here for the people.
Just an
Let's
everyday
go.
Kiwi.
Just the everyday Kiwi. That's what we love.
Kiwi,
There you go.
I think I come across you because someone actually messaged our pillar page and said, check out this guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And I sort of watched a couple of your videos and all around infrastructure and the energy crisis, and it's stuff that goes over my head. Like I'm not don't have a background in construction or engineering or civil infrastructure. You were speaking so clearly and articulately, but in a way that I really felt like I could understand. So what's your background?
My background is, well, where I'm from Canterbury. Was raised there from a middle class family, poor family. Like I tell the story, and it's a real story. Dad used to push bike to work from Kaipoi to the Christchurch airport, which is like an hour and a half each way.
Yeah.
3 hours.
Wow.
And if you know Canterbury, it gets cold. If you know Canterbury, it gets hot. There's this one time like Dad's pedal fell off like 30 minutes into the ride, and it broke, and he pedaled on the way home with one pedal. And Dad was always good at being whakaiti, funny kind of type of guy, and he played it off. But so we come from a working class poor family. I remember Dad, like, it took 2 weeks for Dad to fix that pedal, so we fixed it with a block, and then 2 weeks later to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're from this like working class Kiwi family, heritage of Māori, Moriori, and Polish. Mum's second generation Kiwi, which is pretty cool. So the way I got into infrastructure is actually 13 years old. Dad kindly said that, well, you're not very, I'll make sure this sounds a bit smarter, you're not very smart, Billy. You can come do some mahi, do some work, and that's how I got into industry. So I've been in the industry since I was 13. I'm 42 now.
Wow.
I've started as a labourer. I actually left school with I got dyslexia. I had a reading and writing disability as well. So I started in the industry since I was 13, worked my way up from being a labourer, operator, foreman, supervisor, project management, operational management, business management, and sat on the board as well.
Well done.
That's how I got into the industry. And the way I was able to build that stuff too is the resilience that Mum and Dad ingrained into me. Like I talked about the story around Dad biking to work, I got 3 brothers, 3 sisters, so Dad's got 7 kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we didn't have much. And the resilience that Dad showed me was that accountability, responsibility, and getting up every single day. And I bet you there would be multiple times he would have thought, oh, bugger this, I'm not going to bike to work. Like he biked to work my whole child life.
Wow.
Because we couldn't afford fuel. That's the resilience he built into me, ingrained to me about accountability, responsibility, and no one's going to come and save you. He didn't say them words. He did it through his effort. Mum and Dad do it for the effort, and I love them for that.
That's crazy. He showed you with his actions.
Yeah, he showed me with his actions. And then, every time I wanted to quit through that journey of being a 13-year-old boy to where I am now, as I just think about Dad and Mum, just keep pushing through. Because Dad could have took the easy option. He could have said, you know what, my mum's name's Donna. Do you know what, Donna, I'm going to leave you. And we're not going to worry about this kids. I'm just going to be a single man. But he could have joined gangs because the majority of Māori men are overrepresented in gangs. Could have been an alcoholic, could have been taking drugs, but he chose to, like I say, is carry the boats, lift the logs, and be accountable for his actions.
It's pretty amazing. And as you say, it's like statistically, he could have gone any number of ways, and people probably would have bet on those more than what he ended up doing. Why did he make that choice? Or like, is it something you know? Is it something you guys have ever talked about?
Yeah, it was ingrained from, like, my nan just passed. We were at a tangi, and I was talking to my uncle Wuramu, and it's been ingrained to them from the Chathams. And it's been ingrained, their work ethics from pop to dad to me. I'm a reflection of my father and mother. I am them, they are me. So it's just it's been ingrained. Chatham Islands is not like New Zealand. We have all the safety nets. It's hard.
That's right.
Independence, you got to look after yourself.
You have to look after yourself. And it started from, and probably went back even further. The resilience in Moriori, that journey is a very strong journey. And so that resilience just doesn't come from, my mum and dad, my pop. It comes from our tupuna as well. We're not, we're strong people.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Now you're here. I mean, how long did you drive to get here this morning?
It took about 3 hours.
Well, we appreciate you coming all the way up.
No, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, I think it's an exciting time for you, and we as a team have talked about you a few times. Just often bringing up great points you've made. You do a lot of stuff on socials. You've got a pretty good following that you've built, and you're just often hitting the nail on the head. We want to know more about what you know. Like, we want to learn from you around your approach to some of these policies that have been brought forward by different parties, but also you're a candidate, hopefully, for New Zealand First. We'll talk more about that. But I suppose the big question I have is, why do you want to get into politics? You had a career externally and private, and you've done well, and you've built something. Why now throw it all in to go and be in this place that so many people loathe, but it seems that you want to make a real difference?
Yeah, and can I take on to that question? Are there challenges and frustrations that have come sort of through your industry and formed maybe the resolution or the sort of drive that you have now to get involved in politics?
No, it's more about cultural things. I want to change for our country. Selfless enough, I had my first moko born. My grandchild was born earlier this year, and I was talking to my wife. So I had an opportunity to buy into a business, and we could continue to build wealth or have another pathway of going. And this sounds a little bit egotistic, but I believe in that core, which is what we're saying, looking after yourself. I want a legacy, and I can't continue to sit on the sidelines as New Zealand culture gets eroded. Like, when I say we're going to take this country back, I mean, it's not about just an economic point of view. It's also from a cultural point of view. I don't like to see. I am Kiwi, but I also whakapapa Māori and Moriori. I don't like to see Māori people to be talked down to. That's my driver. I want a legacy that I can leave my children. I can leave money, but what's more important is legacy. I want them to be proud of me. And I don't want to be a leader who sits on the sideline. I want to be a leader who's in the actions. My dad was a leader through being a father. I've been a leader through being a parent. I've also been a leader in the industry. But it's time for me to go, you know what? I can earn money, or I can actually get into the actions and actually try to make a change.
Yeah.
And actually, I will make a change. It's just really easy for us to sit back and throw stones.
That's right.
The real leadership is actually coming to a table and actually go, do you know what? I'm going to get outcomes for Kiwis.
It feels like that sentiment is not carried that much by some of our existing officials and representatives. But I think they see it as this financial incentive, this lifestyle incentive. You are approaching from what I would say is a more traditional, old school approach of, I really want to impact my community. You've talked a lot about responsibility and ownership. I'm a huge believer that once you're responsible for what's at home, then your immediate community and you're sort of a faithful steward with those things, then more will be opened up to you in terms of maybe having a national impact.
Yeah.
Is that something you think about? You've done well with the small and you're ready for a bigger stage?
I don't know if my family's small.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to the wife. I was like, if I ever got into politics, I think we're going to have to tighten up your spending, babe. It's not a money incentive. We do well. It's not about that. I want to actually impact our community. I want to actually see this economic powerhouse cranking again. I want to see that turbine cranking. I want to see really good jobs, because it's a holistic approach. We talk about, the left talk about prevention. The best prevention is economics. We need to have good jobs for men and good jobs for women. That's how you do prevention. That's what I want. I want New Zealanders to be able to live in a society where they have the meritocracy to, if they do the work, do the mahi, they can achieve anything. That's what I grew up in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
grew up in, like, we came from a poor family. My dad worked his bum off, and now I can break a generational cycle of poverty. And there's other things that happened in our family, a wider family, not in our immediate family, around sexual abuse, alcoholism. And we didn't speak to it at home. I've broken a cycle where my kids go to kaupapa. And that's what it's about. And I want every single Kiwi, no matter your political spectrum, left, right, centre, to have an opportunity at greatness.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so interesting because, and I don't want to get too topical into what's happening right now just yet, but something we've seen just in the past week from the likes of the Green Party, who've come out and said, look, there are those people who are actually really struggling in our country financially or socially. And the answer to that is that we tax everyone a whole lot more, grow the size of the government, and make government richer to be able to fix those issues, which is one approach. But interestingly, even with your own words, you're saying, look, you've grown up in a family that was relatively poor and wasn't doing well, and that was just the start of it. There was many other issues that were going on, but tell me what you think. But I don't think you would appeal to this idea that we need to tax people a whole lot more, grow the size of the government a whole lot more to be able to help these people. Why is it that you're taking this other approach that is not particularly envious of the wealthy, that's not particularly desiring of taxing the wealthy? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, the Greens is just a bunch of radicals. That's why. They have no idea. They've never actually worked in their life. Sorry to say, some people leave university and go straight into
right.
Yeah,
politics, and they don't actually understand a business. So you can look at it from a business point of view, profit and loss point of view. You can increase your overheads, but then that sucks up your capital. And that's what they want. They want to increase the overheads
That's right.
and suck up New Zealand's capital. The best place for that money is to be in everyone's back pocket. So even if the wealthy have that money, they're going to spend it in New Zealand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we can't continue to tax, and to think we can tax our way out of the problem. The best way to do is create conditions. So lower tax, lower our individual tax rate. Like I lived up in Fiji for 5 years. Their tax rate is 20%. Why do we have these different tax brackets in New Zealand? That money's best in your own back pocket. We need to reduce the size of governments. They're costing us around the average number of the public service, round numbers, 540 million a month.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy. And what are they actually producing? They don't keep the country going. So I push back on that mentality of more tax.
Every public servant I talk to, their big disparity that they cry about is the system's broken.
Fix it.
But then, they're the people with the keys to fix the system.
You're right there.
I'm like, yeah, but you can fix it. I was talking to a friend who works for NZ Health, and he was like, oh man, the budget's not enough. And I was like, but how much is going to be enough? He's like, oh, you wouldn't even believe the number that they say we need. And he's mind blown. He's like, how is it going to cost this much to even get some sort of change moving? I don't know how many times the ticket's getting clipped there, but we need to put money back in people's pockets, as you say.
Well, it is getting clipped because you look how much DHB boards we've got.
Yeah.
So we remove that overhead structure, which I talk about. When you run a business from a profit and loss point of view, that's an overhead structure. Cut it, invest it back into operational.
Yeah.
All those managers, eh?
Yeah. So how many DHBs? I don't even know.
Well, every region has
smartest
one.
one in the room. How many have we got? But that's the CEO.
Yeah.
That's a CFO for each area. We can cut that. New Zealand's 5 million round numbers. Do we actually need one or two? You know what I mean? That's all we need.
It's 20.
20 DHBs.
Yeah.
So you imagine 20 CEOs on average. We'll just round it down to say 300, and then a CFO, then all the accounting and all the different processes. We need to streamline this stuff. We need to remove the overhead structure in our government and put that cash back into the systems where it can actually be used. We need more doctors and nurses and frontline staff, less management.
Well, the lie that I think that they're purporting is if we tax people more and grow the size of government, suddenly the poor will be richer. It's like they draw this line that doesn't exist. And often what happens is exactly what you're saying. The size of the government grows and the overheads grow and the management grows, but the services don't grow.
No.
So under John, from the transition from John Key to Jacinda Ardern's government, the public service grew quite a bit. I don't know the numbers, but you can check the numbers. It has grown. It grew quite
very
a bit.
much. Yeah.
Did the conditions change?
No, of course not.
It didn't change. So
Got
we've
worse.
got historic facts to show that from John Key to Jacinda Ardern, public service crew, and the outcomes got worse.
So hold on, are you telling me that you don't want public servants in Wellington to outnumber, on average, regular workers? Because then who's going to buy all the flat whites, and who's going to support the local economy, Billy?
Oh, we've got to cut them. We're actually going to cut them. We actually have to cut public servants. I think the number was around, was it 14% they're talking about cutting?
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Exactly.
They cut it by 50%. And do you know what? They can actually do what the everyday Kiwi does. Get your ass up early and work bigger hours. Instead of doing your 8-hour day, do 12.
And we'll just amalgamate the cafes in Wellington. We don't need that many, right? We
Do you
just
know
have
what's-
bigger cafes.
Do you know what's funny? I saw this video yesterday from this young Labour MP he's trying to get in there, and he's like, he's at Kmart, he's trying to buy something for his son. That's like the setup. He's like, I'm buying a dummy for my son, and then it cuts to him in the car. He's like, couldn't find a dummy, but do you know what I did find? Was a young worker at Kmart who he came up to me and he starts telling the sob story. But in essence, the sob story is this guy couldn't find a job. But at the start of it, he says the guy was working at Kmart. And then I'm like, wait, could he not find a job? Or is he working at Kmart? And he's like, and he's got a job now, but he's worried he's going to lose it. I'm like, well, that's on him. Like, if he doesn't do his job properly, he loses his job. The government's not calling Kmart and being like, hey, you got to get rid of this young guy. It's just like that. You couldn't have found a worse candidate. You couldn't have found like a worse person to represent.
Oh, they're out of
The
touch. The majority of the left is out of touch.
Yeah.
You know, the Hipkins, look at Hipkins, out of touch Hipkins. He's same thing. He left university straight into Wellington.
Yeah, all of them are. I mean,
They don't represent the everyday Kiwi. And I talk about this quite a bit. This is the people who actually keep this country going.
Yeah.
I work with these people. I've been in the system of infrastructure. Said it before, say it again. People in the wharfs, factories, bakeries, dairies, on the roads, plenty of other industries. They keep the country going. I know people who work for me who get up on calls when the sewer line bursts.
Yeah.
They fix it. These people are still tucked up in bed. Mum,
That's right.
They don't. And what I mean by that, they're with their wives or their husbands, tucked up in bed. Well, normal Kiwis, the blue collar Kiwi, keeps the country going.
Yeah, proper
And we
money,
actually need to look after them Kiwis, not the public servants. They are servants to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that point, I mean, I was thinking of your dad as you described him, and there's been obviously a really big debate around superannuation, the future of super in this country. A lot of people though seem to forget that there are those who have worked in blue collar jobs, who've worked their whole lives. They've really put their bodies on the line, and they may not be able to work, at the same sort of strength through to 67, 68, or even 70. Germany are going to raise it to 70 now, the super age.
really?
Yeah. So, what do you think? From the point of view of New Zealand First, you guys are not ACT, right?
No.
So you are very conscious, I think, at the same time of the blue collar working class, which still exists in this country. A lot of people in Auckland and Wellington don't think that, right? But it does. And so what do you feel the solution is in terms of like super and how we cover those people who have put their bodies on the line, but at the same time we're going to have to find the money, I guess, in the coming decades.
It's an interesting conversation. And my position on this is because I'm a member of the party, but I'm not running for the party at the moment. My position is, why should we touch the super? Because we've mismanaged the money. Why should we disenfranchise people who built this country?
Yeah.
And that's my position on it. And yes, it's going to be difficult, but why don't we just cut the public servants and invest that into the super?
Yeah.
I think this is the thing. People, you're right. This is the blue collar Kiwi. This is people who have laboured their whole life potentially, and they're going to get this. Just because other people live to 70 doesn't mean that the drain layer is going to live to 70.
Yeah.
You meet some of these drain layers,
Yeah.
brickies, concreters, and they're lucky to last to 60.
Oh, it's hard graft.
And you know what? They say they talk about being for Māori. Māori don't live that long. So we've got to come out with solutions, and I think that's why New Zealand First's policy around a Kickstarter is the solution towards that, around the Kiwi Saver for every Kiwi that's born, because it's a great routine habit. Because I love routine and habit. So when you start that as a newborn and your parents take that over, that's a routine and habit, and that could be a solution moving forward. But I think my position on this is not. I think my position is on this. Why do they want to touch it? Just because Jacinda Ardern, Hipkins, and John Key have mismanaged our economic situation. Why should we touch the hardworking Kiwis' money?
I mean, it sounds like a great policy, the Kiwi Saver thing. So good, in fact, that national.
Well, you know what? Winston did say, like national is tough on crime, but then they're going to steal all the New Zealand First policies, aren't they?
Like we've talked about Winston a lot as a team, and on the podcast and off the podcast. he's captured this election. I thought last election he did a good job at sort of
He's got it
tipping the
again.
scales and sort of catching a lot of disenfranchised voters. He's done an even better job so far, and there's still a few months to go.
Yeah.
But we talked about it before we started recording. They just seem to align with the Kiwi upbringing, the Kiwi ethos, the Kiwi principles that we all know and are familiar with. And maybe I say I love. Maybe other people wouldn't say it that strongly. But how do you find that with the people who follow you, support you, when you announced your candidacy? Was there like support broadly, or were there some people who were annoyed about that?
No, people were keen on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've applied for it. I'm a bit cheeky though. I said I applied for it and I said tag New Zealand first if you want Billy Brown to be running.
Hey, you got to promote, right?
You got to promote yourself.
That's
Hey,
right.
You're going to be a
back yourself.
politician.
Well,
I think
exactly.
there is a big movement there because what I think people are just getting sick and tired of this grievance politics and you can't achieve anything.
That's right.
This country is a meritocracy, and people are sick and tired and you can't achieve anything. So here's a $20 cap for a bus pass, and that's going to fix your cost of living. Here's 3 free visits to the doctors, and that's going to fix it. People are sick of hearing that.
That's right.
Yeah.
They want to be told they can achieve things, and that's what New Zealand First captures. That number 8 wire, that typical stuff when I grew up, and you see in your parents, you know, especially that generation in the 50s, they can just achieve anything, you know what I mean? And that's what New Zealand First captures. It's that old school mentality of you work your ass off and you can achieve something. It's about putting us first, the Kiwis first. It's about putting the nation first. I think just people just resonate with that now because they're sick of tired of the grievance politics and the mass migration and everything else is going on. You know, the ideologies, wars that are going on. People are just tired of that. So I think the last poll they were around, was it 12.5?
Yeah, the one that
12.6?
just came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's double.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I said, I've said publicly a few times, I reckon they'll get to 20. They've slowed their sort of rise a little bit, but there's still a lot of time before we hit that election.
And it's a small party too.
Yeah.
But when I just assumed it would have been like Labor and National, a lot of support.
Yeah.
You know, like a mechanism,
Behind the scenes,
management behind the scenes. It's not. They're all wearing like 3 or 4 caps.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive. And they're very, I was quite surprised as well, very open to new people coming into the party.
Yeah.
Like not from a point of view because they want more votes. They were actually very, very friendly.
That's right.
Yeah. They're not afraid of a hard conversation and a debate. It seems, and you can see that show through in the way that they operate, that they are hard workers. They wear multiple caps. They seem to be, willing to pick up anything and run ahead with it. That free GP visit, I don't know if you saw, Hipkins got pressed on that recently about whether or not you actually will see a GP. Because he sort of had the slip where he's like, oh, you might see a nurse practitioner or you might do an online Zoom call.
Yeah.
They might do a video assessment. And then the
Or
reporter's
the
like,
receptionist.
yeah. And then the reporter's like, so does that count as one of your free visits? And he's like, well, you know, well, no, if you're selling this 3 free GP visits, it can't be a nurse practitioner. It can't be a video call. So what are you doing about that? And turns out, as we already knew from the announcement, it's not real. Like they can't fund it. There's not enough GPs. It doesn't actually exist. So
He's so out of touch, that's why. And his handlers went and told him what the right answer was.
yeah,
He would have been all stuttery like when someone asked him what a
woman was.
Yeah.
like,
I was just thinking, on that point, we've been living through this era of identity politics, right? Everyone's got to have their label. They've all got to be categorized into groups. You know, those groups are broken into groups further and so on. And yet New Zealand First as a party kind of bucks the stereotype in the sense that you've got a lot of Māori, candidates, MPs now. You've got like not only Winston and Matua Shane, you've got Tane Randall now, who's running Hawke's Bay. And, you've described that you're obviously proud of your heritage, Māori and Moriori. So what is it about New Zealand First as a party where you haven't, you've bucked the trend? You've got people like yourself who say, yep, this is who I am. I'm proud of who I am, but I'm not going to be defined by other people. I'm assuming that you don't want to be defined by other people. You want to be told, well, because of your Māori heritage or whatever, that you're going to be, behaving a certain way and adhering to certain policies. How do you respond to that type of pigeonholing?
like being DEI kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that the reason why they buck the trend is because most Pacific Islanders and Māori don't want to be a DEI.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to be in a room because I'm Māori. I want to be in a room because I earned it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, including Tane is the same, and Elliot, who's been announced, and Vicky has been announced, and so is Esther's been announced, and they're all strong Pacific Island people, and they all don't want to be told they're there because they're brown. They're there because they have the merit.
That's right.
And that's the difference. That's so empowerful. That's the most powerful thing ever, is that you're in the room because you earned it. You're not in the room because you're a stat.
Yeah, there's a lot of urban liberal types that have fallen hook, line, and sinker for this idea that you look this way, or you speak this way, so you fall into that category. I mean, I lived on the East Coast for 5 years in a majority Māori community, rural community, and I wasn't shocked. I wasn't sort of that surprised, but it reinforced for me that people don't fall neatly into ideological lines, categories. There's a huge debate amongst iwi, amongst marae, like people in a town, a small town like that. They've all got their independent views. They don't want to be told what to think, and certainly not from Wellington, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just find it really interesting that ideology, politics, sort of that white liberals especially think that Māori want to be told what to do by unelected boards like here in Auckland. Like,
demeaning.
I talked about, I do live on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and I talked about it, I think yesterday or Tuesday, is like how insulting that white liberals think Māori need to have an unelected board because they're educated and we're uneducated. We don't know how to work out how to vote in a democracy.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting. And anyone who backs that is that is the real racism in New Zealand.
That's a colonial attitude.
That is kind of like that we are so inferior.
Yeah.
And we don't understand democracy, that we need an unelected board. It's the same with the Māori seats.
Yeah.
We don't need to be, do you know what? Because you're Māori, you can only vote for this people. That is white liberal racism where they talk down to Māori and go, do you know what? You need these Māori seats because you can't get ahead.
Yeah.
I hate that type of politics. I vote because I know what the hell I want.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm wrong and sometimes I'm right, but that's my right to be right or wrong.
Absolutely.
I think that's being exposed though across a lot of Western democratic nations with like the Southern Poverty Law Centre. I don't know if you saw this story. Pretty prominent left-wing advocacy group who rages against the patriarchy and colonialism and colonization, all these things. Turns out they were funding a bunch of neo-Nazi.
I've seen that.
And the first time I ever encountered them was because we brought a speaker to New Zealand in our previous organization, and he was flagged on their website as a radical extremist for supporting Mums for Liberty. And it was as a group that was against puberty blockers and transgender reassignment surgery for kids. And we got a phone call from one of our venues being like, you're hosting the speaker in our venue and he's a known extremist. I said, oh, how have you decided he's an extremist? He's on the Southern Poverty Law Centre website as a known extremist. Fast forward 2 years, they've now been disestablished as a charity and as an organization because they're funding neo-Nazi movements.
Crazy, eh?
So it's like this, it's like looking down your nose, It's their sort of on their high horse, assuming they know what's best. They're so anti-racist that they're super racist, you know?
Yeah, you're correct. They are. It's the new racism. Like they just think they're so elite that they need to tell the minorities how to think.
Yeah.
That is the core racism. You can't be a pilot, so we're going to make a number up for you. Become a pilot.
We're there to speak for you all.
We're there to speak for you. It's just it's ridiculous, and that's this white liberal Te Pāti Māori Greens Labour's thinking at the moment. That's why I've moved away. I used to be a staunch Labour voter because I used to represent the Labour Party, the working class.
Yeah.
But they left me. I didn't leave the party. They went over there. They decided that I didn't need these special boards because I'm Māori and I'm not smart enough to work out democracy. They decided that because they decided to have men in women's bathrooms, which are girls' bathrooms, little girls' bathrooms as well. They left me. I didn't leave them. The only person who's left in the centre is New Zealand First.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. National's not even centre right. They are just left now. You look at their policies, not maybe fiscally, but you look at their policies around freedoms, core freedoms, around police power, around surveillance, around digital ID and social media and 16 ban. They're heading towards totalitarianism and authoritarianism state at a rapid pace. And I was talking to someone about this. I said, just wait till Erica Stanford's leader. It'll be just into 2.0. I think that's where they're heading. What about ACT? How do you see like a partnership or coalition working with them the second time round? Do you think it'll be productive, unproductive, good?
I think New Zealand First can actually be productive with anyone, to be honest. Problem with
except opportunity, maybe.
Opportunity is funny. They're just a bunch of radical lefties too. Just dressed up really nice, getting free advertising from the media at the moment,
Yeah,
legacy
yeah.
media.
Yeah.
That's how they're getting their numbers driven up. But with ACT,
Novelty. Yeah.
they're a difficult one because they come across conservative, but they're not. They're actually really extreme neoliberals. They sit on the extreme right too, I think. They always cry too much modification. Like wokeism can be on left and right, I reckon.
Yeah,
Like the
absolutely.
left say we need more, the right, and then ACT says it's too much. And it was actually something in between. We want enough. You know, our culture's based on tourism too, so we want some tourism. But ACT, they want to sell everything. And I think there's some key strategic items, infrastructure that we want to keep. I don't know why they want to sell everything. We own our roads. So why would we want to sell power stations?
Yeah.
You know, like that doesn't make sense. We own our roads, we own our bridges. Why are we keeping them but not the power stations that generate wealth?
Yep.
So the difference, I think New Zealand First Winston especially, can operate with anyone.
Yeah, so some things just don't work in a competitive, dynamic. Like they have to kind of exist independently and held in trust by the people. It would seem.
Yeah.
But other things, sure, put it to the market.
Yeah,
see
100%.
how
TVNZ.
competition drives it. Yeah, sure, for sure.
You sell that.
Yeah.
Sell TVNZ.
Yeah.
But
you
if
know,
you
like
sell TVNZ, how will we know what's the truth?
how
will I?
the single source for truth.
No, the beehive. That's all.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
just a live stream from the beehive.
But I think Winston can work with anyone. You look at him at the moment. The reason why we're heading in the right direction is because Winston is directing it. David Seymour's not. Their numbers are dropped, tanking, and so is National. National can't do anything without running focus groups.
Yeah.
They can't do anything. You know, yeah.
Do you think if you were Indian, you would have run for National instead?
I
If you were Indian, would you have run for National instead?
don't know. I don't know what
That's the question I've had.
Chris Singh would say about that. It's quite interesting. But I was actually thinking about running from National.
Yeah.
I had a play in my head. I was like, how can a Māori guy get into Parliament super quick? And I was thinking, okay, maybe National. But then I looked at National and go, they're just getting us to the edge of the cliff a little bit slower than Labour.
Yeah. I think the way that you've approached trying to step into this space, you could have run for anyone really, right? Like you were a life Labour voter before. Why not save that party? Or if you wanted the faster track, you could have gone National, but you've ultimately gone with conviction, right? Which is what I think more Kiwis need to do, especially at the polling booth. Often, like we've talked about this, we vote to win. And we get this sense of like this endorphin release when our party wins. But you've just won worse outcomes. Why didn't you vote in line with what you actually wanted to see in terms of policy, results, track record, these sorts of things? And you would actually be happier at the end of the day. But we put too much stake in having predicted the outcome. I think that's why Labour and National just dominate every year when it comes to the election, regardless of the polls leading up. Then we see this huge drop off of people just going back into their habits or going back towards the safe vote.
The thing is Wellington versus the Chiefs. That's the problem. The thing is a footy team.
Yeah.
It's not a footy team. We don't back our teams like it's rugby. Well, it's not like watching the Warriors. We back them 100% and constantly say this is our year. You know, if we're losing as a country, we need to make some fundamental change. We can't continue to vote Labour. You can't continue to vote Labour and we can't continue to vote National and expect something's going to change because they've been in control for how long? Like, what are we going to do here? We have to make a change. And that's why I thought, you know what, New Zealand First, and what would happen, what's the worst case outcome if New Zealand First actually got the majority votes and they could actually be the majority party around a coalition? I think these would be great outcomes for New Zealand.
That's the question, and we've talked about this again, but it's not whether or not they would be good, it's whether they are capable at their size. And that's the question with reform, that's the question with One Nation, that's the question with these emerging parties that are being classified as right-wing extreme. It's not necessarily whether what they would do would be effective, but whether they have the capacity to do it.
And also whether their leadership has that vision, right? They're brave enough to actually kind of go back to first principles, which sort of strikes me as obviously there's a bit of cowardice there because it could be your political career on the line if you try and steer your party in a radically different direction or going back to first principles. But I mean, to me, New Zealand First does remind me in a lot of ways of New Zealand, maybe even before the 80s, the 90s, the neoliberal kind of reforms of the Longi government and then the national government. How do we kind of capture the successful formula of the past? And was it as successful as we might like to think, back then? Because I know that's quite a bit of the talking points that come from New Zealand First. I know Winston Peters certainly emphasises we need to go back to some of those old principles. To you, from your point of view, what are some of those those old principles that we've lost?
I think it's only just to think big as well. I say all the time, let's think big. It's not about going back to the old principles, it's about believing in something that actually works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because some principles like the think big era put us into debt.
Yeah.
Thinking big and building infrastructure doesn't mean we need to get extremely into debt. There's ways to do it. But thinking big is also building again.
Yep.
So it's about going back to some old fundamental, not principles, but I think beliefs.
Right.
In this country where we can actually make a change. Doesn't mean it has to be the same policies, the same principles. It's about believing.
And we can learn from our mistakes.
And we can learn
the
from our
past. Yeah,
mistakes. So it's about capturing that historic thinking, you know what I mean, and that belief.
Some of that go forward ball, eh? You know? Yeah.
Well, I felt like we used to just do things for the sake of wanting to do them really well. And it led us to the world stage. And then we started to prioritize being on the world stage over doing things worthy of the world stage, which then led us to just being part of the global agenda. And it's like, well, what got us there has not is what we need to return to. Like, we used to be just so innovative, so creative. We were the bottom of the world, but leading in so many regards.
100%.
We need to get back there. And I think you're so right. It's cultural. I mean, we can create a regulatory and legislative framework that incentivizes that. But unless we actually speak to the hearts and minds of Kiwis and speak to them to the possibilities of what happens when you work hard, what happens when you take risks, what happens when you invest, what happens when you actually push the boat out a little. I mean, the younger generation needs to understand that. It's not about just doing the track of school, university, get a corporate, or get a trade. Like, we actually need risk takers in our country again.
We do. We need to take risks. We need to believe again.
Yep.
You know, we've lost ourselves of able to just get up and go do something. Look at it, like, if we wanted to go build a highway just down the road, it'd probably take 10 years. We just need to get in there and start mucking and doing it. Not worry about the taniwha tax, this type of tax. We just got to start there and doing it. Bugger all that. We actually need to build. So it's about believing in things. When you talk about legislation, my mind is glazed over. We don't want that stuff. We just need a belief in the nation that we can actually do something. And it's something that the Americans actually capture very well, is the belief of their country. You know what I mean? We need to bring that here. We used to have that. Like, after the war, World War II, we had a belief of being a very small country, returning servicemen, coming back to New Zealand and building this country. And we need to get back to that belief, of that 1950s belief that we could just build stuff and produce a great economic outcomes for us, because they did.
What do you think the best way is to fund the kind of infrastructure that we're going to need, you know, in the coming decades? Because there's obviously a pretty big shortfall right now between what we'd like to have
And the billions,
and the revenue that we actually have to pay for it.
We need a mine. We need oil and gas.
Yep.
We need the royalties.
Yep.
We need to. This is the difference between Jacinda's Ardern's $60 billion lolly scrambles.
Right.
You can put it in that way, like I try to talk to my wife, is like around politics and stuff. We can either spend our money on buying Harleys, like I've done in the past. We can buy a house. I mean, they've got a real asset. So we need to borrow too. But we also need private-public partnerships as well. So we need the royalties, we need to borrow, we need private-public partnerships.
Do you think there's a role for KiwiSaver funds?
Yep.
In that?
Similar to what they do in Australia and
Yep.
stuff like that. We need to do that as well. And we need to talk to, you know, that private, the triple Ps can also be with iwi and hapu as well.
Yeah, sure.
They can invest.
Yeah, they've got pretty massive portfolios. Some
Yeah,
of
we've
them
got to
that
tax them too.
Tax them. Tax them all.
We're gonna
We're Greens all of a sudden.
do you know what? I believe in the Greens capital gains tax, and we're going to tax the iwi and hapu exactly like we're going to tax everyone else.
So you want a more consistent tax applied across all the different entities?
Oh, 100%. So if we're talking about taxing the rich, I don't want to tax anymore, but we need a consistent approach.
Yep.
So iwi, when you have your operational arm, your business arm, and they pass the profits on to their multi-authority trust, they only pay 17.5. Us as individuals, if we own a trust, we're paying 39%.
Really?
Why do they get special privileges? Because they're hapus, while family trusts are also hapus. You know, a hapu is family. So why are they getting special treatment?
Interesting.
I think we need a consistent tax across the board. I don't want increased tax. I want a lower business tax. I think, what was the Greens increasing the business tax to 33%?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Was that for small enterprises as well?
It was for they say the 0.7% biggest companies. So if
who
you're,
are
they name them, they decide who those are. So it's
that's
like
crazy.
the banks and the
Fonterra.
supermarket,
Fonterra.
Fonterras and the supermarkets.
You've got it on here. Walk us through this Greens tax policy, because
So
we should explore it a bit. But tell us.
If you're earning 160, anything over $160,000 income is taxed at 45%. Your first 10,000 is tax free, which I thought that's pretty big from them. I quite like that personally. But anyway, 45% of anything over $160,000 is at 45% going to the government, 2.5 annual tax on net assets of the super rich above $10 million. So anything over $10 million that you own, assets, not income, not care, whatever, assets, 2.5% of that every single year you have to pay up.
So
even
not,
if it's
not liquid cash,
not even
asset-
liquid, yeah.
assets.
So if you own $12 million, $2 million every single year, you have to pay 2.5% of that. And it might not even be in the bank. It might just be a house that you have. So you have to cough up.
Draw down on that or borrow.
It
Yeah.
could be a farm, family farm.
Well, I think they made some.
They made a carve out for the family farm
for family homes
and for the family home.
That's interesting. They made a carve out, but there's also you can carve it back in.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. They
Once
could.
it's on, it's on. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing with those is asset values go up and down, right? So if my asset value goes up, then I'll be paying more tax. But if it goes down,
Do I pay less?
do I pay less, or do they pay me back?
They pay you back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I reckon.
Give me back my money.
45%. Did you say 45% off every dollar over 160,000?
That's right. Yeah,
160,000 is not a lot.
not that much
No,
money.
no.
No.
You said the other day, it's
Well,
two
it's-
teachers.
So it's 160,000. If that's, so let's say it's a one person income household. So you've got, dad's gone off to work, mum's taken some time off to look after the kids while they're little. And, she's not working at the same time. And so, from the Greens point of view, well, they're on 160,000, one income, must be doing well. But of course, you think about it, you have two secondary teachers earning 80,000 each. That's 160,000 for that household as well. Yes, they're both going out to work. They're on the same amount of money, but they're not being taxed at the same rate because the 160,000 single income is now going to go into that 45. Was it 45%
Yeah, 45.
category? So to me, it seems like it's a bit of a dig at the family, right? At the family unit. But ultimately, you're still living off the same amount of money. Yeah, I get it. If you treat people as individuals, then tax them, accordingly. But to not recognize the family unit and the fact that there's finite resources for that family, and that, hey, if mum wants to stay at home and look after the kids for those early years, how is that a bad thing, right? So we do have some weird stuff coming in here with this type of tax.
It's supposed to be for the super rich, and then it's 160,000. And it's like,
Which is
whoa,
low,
whoa,
which
whoa,
is
hold
low
on.
anyway, right? That is just a low bar.
Not that much money.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
wow.
not much at all. Like, I talked about my story coming from real poverty in New
Yeah.
Zealand.
Yeah.
Worked my ass off to earn good money, and now they want to tax me through that. I'm not wealthy. I'm not rich. I've used my physical labor to get here, and now you want to decenter it's just a tall poppy syndrome.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Tax. That's all it is. I heard
Well,
someone
it just
say that. It is.
incentivizes,
It's
risk taking,
incentivized,
doesn't it?
yeah, risk taking, everything. Because you just go, like, I can step back even further. Like, I talked to a family member, they're in a state home, they're on the benefit. And I said, why don't you go in? So when I go do this and that, it makes you only $10 better off. It's the same thing now with this tax. You can go take a risk. Well, why would I want to do that? I'm just going to get taxed more.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm going to have all this effort, all this time put in. Now I'm going to get taxed more. And some people are on over 160,000 who are actually on wages too, who use their physical labor.
That's right.
Yeah.
These are not shiny asses sitting in an office,
Yeah.
using their physical labor to earn that.
Yeah. I was watching the linesmen, they were fixing the power lines down our street. And I was like, mate, I don't know if you could get me doing that job. You could pay me a lot of money, and I don't know if I'd want to be up there taking the chances that I know they have
High risk, high reward. in a
but it
sense,
is, and you've got to tip your hat to people that are prepared to do that.
Are they 50% women though? And that's the question. Yeah.
I've
Where's the equality?
I've
Where's the
worked
equality?
with supervisors who have worked for me in the past. We work across, the Pacific Islands and stuff like that. They work hard. They're on over 160,000, some 160,000, 180. They are working away from their families, sacrificing time from their family. So now we're going to tax them people. We're taking a risk. We're working away from their family homes to provide for them. That is not the wealthy. That is the blue collar Kiwi.
And that's the cost that we don't ever consider. It's the cost to your family, the cost to your body, like your physical exertion. You can't put a dollar value on those things, really, for all the missed bedtimes and for all the missed assemblies and sports games, because you are contributing to the infrastructure of the country or another country, developing nation, Yeah,
Probably reflects how much the Greens are out of touch with the everyday Kiwi.
Yeah.
It does, because the people who work for me, who are on 180,000, these are the supervisors. These are the people who are working 12, 14 hours a day, working away from home. They're out of touch because that 160,000, these people are not wealthy. They're not rich. They're just a blue collar Kiwi who works their friggin' ass off.
I suppose that if you're collar, you do have a pretty skewed view of what 160,000 does, because you're Auckland CBDs, you're electorate, and then you work in Wellington mainly. But when you're here, you're there, and you do see a lot of people on 160K in cafes and walking here, there, everywhere, not necessarily working super, super hard. So she probably thinks,
including herself.
yeah, including herself.
That's why Marma Davidson's like, I earn 200,000, but I want to pay more tax.
Yeah.
She said that on television. It's like no one's stopping you.
Good. Well, she can donate to charity.
No,
I'll
but
take it.
The other thing is she's not a net positive taxpayer. She doesn't pay tax. She returns tax.
Yeah.
So she's not paying anything. So for her to be like, oh, I'll pay more.
That's not a good argument from
Yeah.
her, right? We pay her.
Yeah.
We pay her.
I'll pay her tax if someone can find a good argument from her.
Yeah.
You know?
Pay her less. Yeah. Pay her
We
less.
pay her to be an activist in Parliament
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
and
No,
to divide the country.
I just every time they get her on Ryan Bridge, I don't know why whoever her handler is lets her on there, and it's crazy.
But that's the amazing thing about the Green Party. They've had so many scandals across over the past 3 years, and their polling hasn't really changed. It's
Are you saying that if you steal stuff from shops is wrong?
I do think that is. I know it's a bit radical for me, but
That's
if
your
you're-
Iranian sister
if
right
you're,
there. You should be
I know,
standing up for her.
if you're stealing, well, they have the stealing attitude in them, right? They want to take your money. They want to
Need
take.
to stop
What
Sorry.
about prevention though?
Oh, look, we're
Because
not,
that's the argument. Every time you bring up like criminal acts, they talk about but what about prevention? They've had a lot of scandals.
Oh, that Billy Doyle, whatever his name is.
Was that the one who was wearing the weird hat?
Benjamin
Doyle?
Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that
Benjamin Doyle.
Winston bullied out of Parliament.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
He should have been removed straight away, and that's the
The
difference.
second they found it, yeah.
Oh, scandalous. Eh?
That's the differences from the scrutiny from legacy media towards the left to the right.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
getting away with some weird stuff.
He was their spokesperson for early childhood.
That's some weird stuff.
That's so
Like,
bad, bro.
I've got kids that age. If I walked in and saw him,
Nah.
I will not be happy.
But it was incredible how he played the victim card after all of it. He was
Oh.
like, I'm the victim here.
He's Takatapu, man.
Brother.
Come on. Gender diverse.
Yeah, that's
Gotta
what
leave
it
him
is.
alone.
Sorry. I'm so
It's
sorry.
unreal though. I like,
So funny.
and the legacy media were trying to downplay it
Yeah.
and call Winston a bully.
Yeah, Winston was the bad guy. Not the
But this is the thing. It's like, no matter, like you say, no matter what comes out about these guys, they're still at that 12%.
It's ideology.
And it's because it's these like super devoted environmentalists who actually, like we were speaking earlier, good on them for caring about the environment. If they focus there, that'd be amazing. But the party's not actually representing them, and they're just being loyal because of a brand.
And a lot of uni students, right? A lot of uni students who just are naive.
That
They
guy
don't
we met?
understand. They haven't worked in the real world and they don't understand.
And the guy, we were at university, and this guy goes, "Chloe's the best leader we've got." He's like, and so then Nick talks to him for about 20 minutes, and you convinced him sort of a little bit, but he was a die on the hill Chloe fan, but he couldn't tell you what he liked about the Greens, but he loved Chloe. I was like, brother, I don't think she swings your way. I think you're on the wrong track here.
I got my nephew staying with me, and prior coming up in his later years, he was one of the protesters against the coal and stuff, laying down in front of the trains and
boy.
stuff
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
oh, gee.
And now he's working 2 jobs, and he's quite interested in New Zealand First because he's come to realise why is he paying so much tax.
Yeah.
Once they start working, they come to realise it's not about ideology; it's about what's in your back pocket and how can you provide for yourself and your family. And once these young people actually leave university and potentially become more productive, they'll come to realise that the Greens are a bunch of radicals.
Yeah.
Like I like Chloe from a brand point of view. I think you have to respect people
Sure.
and how they
Totally.
do things.
Yeah.
And Chloe, I think Marama does a terrible job, but Chloe,
She knows how to sell it.
she knows how to sell it.
Yeah.
She does a fantastic job, and you can recognise that stuff. Like you can recognise, like Jacinda Ardern, her brand and how she represented herself and sold herself was
Very
excellent. Her policies, different story.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen all this talk now about how her whole prime ministership was performative? And Barry Soper came out and did an interview about all the prime ministers he's known as the political editor over a number of years, and he was there when they picked her to be the next leader of Labour, the future prime minister. And he said almost immediately cameras showed up and they followed her from day one all the way through to her resignation. And that's when it dawned on him that the whole thing was an experiment for effectively content.
It's unreal.
It's crazy. And so she comes out, she's got 2 books, she's got a movie and a documentary. And it dawned on him, he's like, wow, I just witnessed firsthand an entire propaganda campaign. And I didn't realize at the time.
Did he witness it or be part of it?
Well, it's a question, yeah.
He was part of it. Everyone was. And for these legacy media to say that they witnessed it, they're actually part of it. She ruined this country. She ruined it so much. She was in power her government was in power for 9 years, 3 elections. She created the conditions so bad that she had to move to Australia. She probably
Immediately.
she probably thinking, you know what? my child probably won't be able to progress in New Zealand because the conditions are so poor for the economics.
Conditions that she created.
We're going to have to move to Aussie. Do you know what? The communities are unsafe because of the conditions I created. Do you know what? There's actually the healthcare systems is that buggered. We're going to have to move to Australia. She created all these conditions and she left the country, and that shows her failed legacy.
Yeah, it concerns me that the emphasis on reforming like the child poverty issue, getting progress there, which was a big point that they laboured when they were going through the election, and yet really all of the indicators around child poverty have got worse over that period that they were in. I was going to ask you just on that point. New Zealand First often gets labelled populist. And I've been thinking about that for a while now, and I wonder whether it has to do with the fact that people aren't used to the old kind of Labour left blue collar emphasis that has been lost by the Labour Party, which is still something that is clearly there in New Zealand First. But at the same time, New Zealand First has been, people have attempted to label it right wing, in the sense of, being sort of fascist or whatever, all of this kind of over the top rhetoric. And I wonder if it just throws people in the new era where left and right don't mean what they used to mean. And so that's why they come up with populist as a label.
Yeah, they do.
How do you feel about that? Because I mean, people shrug it off. And
I just shrug it off. Who cares?
yeah.
Oh, that's just a label.
Yeah.
Well, I get quite a lot of engagement on my comment section, so a lot of labeling and stuff. I just think it's funny. Like, who cares what a label is? Well, people who don't want to vote for you are going to label whatever you are. They're going to label you extreme right, racist, a populist. Who cares? It's just a label. I like to chuck labels around too, but I think people have lost touch of that typical mentality of what Winston New Zealand First brings around the blue collar. I don't think people realise there's actually blue collar Kiwis here who actually run the country. There's more than just politicians, councillors, from local level, from regional level, central level. There's more than just doctors and nurses out there. There's actually people who actually build all these roads, all the bridges, all the three water systems, the veins of the city. People build that. I think people struggle. That's not populist. That's actually him talking to his voter base.
And there's also
the majority of the Kiwis.
There seems to be also there's a more of a traditional masculine kind of way of talking, thinking that I think I see in New Zealand First, which doesn't square for a lot of people on the left. With the idea that you would represent, the left or workers. I'm not saying that you guys are a leftist party, but there are still some of those traditional elements, right, that Labor used to have. And I think a lot of people are out of touch with our own history, right, our own political history. They don't realise that there were very, staunch masculine kind of Labor leaders in the past. And I think I think you guys are tapping into something that a lot of Kiwis do remember and they've forgotten about. And it's like, oh, that's right. We had our Norman Kirk. He used to get his pellet gun and shoot pigeons from the ninth floor of the beehive.
Who was drunk in at the house? Was it?
Well, he wasn't in the beehive, but yeah.
Muldoon.
Yeah, Muldoon.
Was it Mr. Spooker? Mr. Spooker.
Yeah.
He was pissed up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But what I see from New Zealand First is a centralist party. It's got leftness in it, and it's got rightness in it, or conservativeness into it. And I am that as well. I believe in social nets. Like I believe that we need a housing in New Zealand. I believe that we need, I don't know what the words for it, but dole. We need that. We need these safety nets for people. But also I want that conservativeness too. I want to have responsible spending. I want small government.
So it's there as a backup, but only as a last resort, really. Is what you're saying?
Yes. That's different from someone who's who's got a disability. They need to be on a sickness benefit.
Yeah, sure.
I'm talking about like someone who's lost their jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We need that safety net. Someone who's lost their job, they need a home.
Yeah.
That's the Kiwi way. Hand up.
Yeah.
But what we can't have is a system of generational people living.
Welfare.
You know what I mean? But that's what New Zealand First. What I see of New Zealand First is a centralist party. Like for so long, we've continued to talk about footy. For so long, we'll run the left side, hit the left side. Some of us have hit the left side. What have we achieved? Nothing. We've hit the right side. Politics. What have we achieved? Nothing. It's time for us to run it straight down the centre and see what they can achieve. The majority of Kiwis are centralists.
Yeah. Pragmatic, eh?
Pragmatic. People want to have safety nets. People want small government unless you're far left. The worst thing I could ever fear, who was it? Ronald Reagan, like from the government, I'm here to save you. I'd run a mile. Like, I don't want the government anywhere near me.
See, this is the thing. I think most, like you're so right, most Kiwis have no issue with welfare. It's when it's abused and it's a first resort. and like things like a UBI that we see being pushed by Top, for example, I just don't see any utility or benefit to society if we're all getting this pay packet from the government and they say it's going to incentivize us to do only the things we care about. That's not how life works. Life doesn't work where we all just get to do the things we like. We can't all be, sitting around doing this and that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say they sell it as if everyone's going to get $350 a week, and then they're going to go do art class and yoga and all this stuff. But the reality
I'll
is,
do yoga for $350 a week. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. We've got yoga coming from India, so we'll have
AI
lots to do.
robots do the house.
250 yoga instructors.
But the reality is, what will happen is that this is the other side of it: is you'll have a lot of people who will just sit at home and buy pizza and watch Netflix, and that is not as beautiful a vision to sell to the public. And if they said the truth, I don't think people would like that idea as much as some do.
Or maybe that's the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We are, at our core, a civil liberties organization, and we love to talk about those things: civil liberties, personal freedom, individual responsibility. Keen to get your thoughts on a couple of these initiatives that are being pushed, which is really concerning, by the likes of National around social media age restriction ban, and even an online regulator around other things like the move on orders. Obviously, that's a pretty multifaceted issue, but has some pretty concerning caveats in there. We think for you did a submission for individual liberty, freedom, movement, and speech. Social media ban, for example. Where do you sit on that? No.
Just look after your own kids.
Here we go. Done.
Hey, you can't say that.
Look after your own kids.
Haven't had 6 kids yourself.
See this thing here. Kids have got this. You take it off them. You go, no, none of them apps. It's pretty simple. It's a gateway. It's a gateway for digital ID to track the adults.
So you don't think that we should infringe on every human and all 5 million of us to protect just the children? We shouldn't do that?
No.
Okay, brilliant.
I love
Yeah,
it so much because
just to be a parent.
they've spent millions on consultation and all
And
this
that's what
stuff, but it
National
was
do.
like,
They do these
Just don't do
crazy
it.
things.
Focus groups, eh?
Yeah, focus groups, because they can't make a decision. It's pretty simple.
don't
No.
give them a phone.
Do you not? If you can't manage your kids, there's something wrong with you. I have issues with my kids with these social media. Do you know I go to them? I go, give me your phone.
Yeah.
Put it over there. You don't touch it. You can take it when you go to school because I want to. If there's something happen, I want you to contact me.
Yeah.
So funny.
You don't use it. That's
Yeah.
what you do. You
Yeah.
know what? You're not having Snapchat yet.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have Facebook Messenger because that's how him and his family operate. My oldest son. You can have that. It's pretty simple. Be a parent.
That's what I was saying to my wife, and we're on the same page about this, but I was like, at work, I'm a champion for democracy. At home, I'm a dictator. I make the rules, no phones until 16, 18, and my kids aren't even near the age of having devices, but they're asking about it. Okay, that's good. What about move on orders? Obviously, there is some social utility. We've acknowledged that small business owners deserve a right to have their storefronts approachable and accessible. But what about some of the broader, maybe you can speak to it a little bit, but some of the things we're concerned about are?
Well, that's the thing. So broadly speaking, if I'm walking down Queen Street, I don't want to be threatened, especially if there's children. So there is utility in that, especially for businesses and all that. What some of the concerns we have is the level of punishment. So the punishment, the maximum punishment is equivalent to, for example, careless driving and killing someone. So if you breach a move on order, you have 3 months imprisonment, which is the equivalent of selling class C drugs. We just feel that's a bit too harsh for someone who's maybe rough sleeping. So that's disproportionate. The wording of the legislation doesn't say anything about how far someone can be expelled or where exactly they can go. For example, if I don't know, if I have to go to the doctor and I've been expelled from a zone, then what, do I have to go to prison for 3 months if I come back? And the other element of it is around speech, in that it's pretty vague language in terms of what form of speech can be.
So you could be holding up a sign that says, I need help. Now that could be targeted.
That's
or
part of
considered
what
But
police
this could
can
be a
use.
political message too, right? It's not clear.
Yes and no, but it's a bit complicated in the legislation itself. But the principle is that because the government's agenda, economic and policy agenda, they can suppress someone's speech for just sitting there holding a sign saying "Give me money." As a grounding principle, I just don't think that's appropriate. If someone is setting up a tent and sleeping and intruding on me
In the doorway.
in the doorway, then I think that's legitimate. But someone just sitting there holding a sign, I don't think that's appropriate.
The stated intentions we agree with.
Yeah.
The actual writing leaves
Yeah,
much
some
to
of
be
the wording.
desired.
Has it had first reading, has it?
Yeah, so it's a select committee now. So we've submitted on, and I think that they'll clean it up. Hopefully, it's nice they have something in there that says if you're doing some political messaging or if you're expressing ideas in public, you can't be moved on.
solely for that purpose.
So that's good. That's,
It's a broader range just from homeless people
Yeah.
yes,
to move on order for any.
It was intended for homeless people, for
Homeless
rough
and rough
sleepers,
Well, that's how it
but-
was sold. That's how it was
and
marketed.
beggars, but it's actually a little too vague, and it could be applied to a lot of other people if not carefully thought
for like
through.
breaching the peace, but that's not necessarily defined. But what does it mean to breach the peace?
Their big concern was the threshold was too high. So breaching the peace had a too high a threshold for them.
Is this a national bill? Was it
Yeah.
Government bill, but yeah,
I think
yeah,
pushed by
no.
Act 2, eh?
pushed by Act?
I think Act has been behind it.
Well, the
was
whole
the one who
government,
brought
the
it forward
government's
initially,
pushing
and
it
then-
through.
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
But thoughts. We've given you a lot to process right there. So
Thoughts on a move on order needs to be clear on what it states. So
Yeah,
in
I think
principles where it stands right now. I haven't read it, but
Yeah, that's
the
right,
feedback
yeah.
you're giving me, I'd be anti it because you could be, if there's that broad range, you can be
Yeah.
moved on. Like it could be someone outside abortion clinic and they want to practice their Christianity. It could be someone outside of a national office and saying they vote for Labor or vice versa. We need to be very careful around our freedoms of expression and our speech.
Yeah.
Then fundamentally going back further than that, homelessness needs to be tackled from.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a growing problem down in Rotorua.
Yeah, it is.
Hey,
Yeah,
yeah.
we need to tackle that a lot better. But from that bill point of view, I haven't read.
Yeah,
that.
no, totally.
But the information supplied, I would be a no against that as well. And that's, I think a lot of the stuff we can actually just start being real honest about things. Like I said about the social media, just don't give people political friggin' jargon. Just no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
From this point of view, it's a no because I believe in freedom.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I would hate to see another Jacinda Ardern regime getting into power when we had that in place. People would continue to get moved on because it's a different
Yep.
political
Yeah,
spectrum
yeah,
and then someone else.
Yeah.
And that's what I fear around the social media stuff, ID, so online, digital ID
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like this.
Yeah. I think what's been interesting for me to see in the past, say 3 months, is that a lot of these bureaucrats, these legislators, the officials, have a lot of trust in themselves, or they're not particularly vigilant about the consequences of the stuff that they write. So it can often be quite broad. For example, the homeschooling thing. And this is just my perspective. I don't think necessarily that the person who wrote that legislation was thinking, "Oh, we want to control, we want to take over homeschooling with this real bad intent." I just think it was naive and it wasn't thought through, and they just trusted themselves that
Maybe it was, though.
maybe
Yes,
it
well,
was,
that's what- I think-
maybe it was.
I think it might have potentially was when you look at the free immigration deal they did with India. They signed up to UNDRUP and they signed up to the Paris
Some
Agreement.
random, crazy stuff. Yeah.
You know, like a national supposed to be anti-co-governance and supposed to be anti-Paris Agreement, and we just signed up to it. And India is not signed up to any of that. So how did it get in there? So I probably push back in there. Maybe potentially they have a position on this.
The officials, 100%.
I think the unelected officials are constantly lying to not just ministers in parliaments like they have just recently.
Recently, that's
they're
right.
hiding, they're hiding stuff to Kiwis.
I've come across bureaucrats that have an axe to grind, for sure.
Yeah,
They've got
yeah,
a personal
totally.
agenda sometimes.
Totally.
Not all of them, but there are some that are very militant and actually trying to push their own agenda.
I don't think that they can imagine a world where someone would disagree with them either, which is
Yeah.
why they find it so hard to have debate.
Yeah.
Because it's just so foreign that someone wouldn't agree with them and they're the best person and they're benevolent and they would never hurt anyone, but they don't realize that just because they're not the person holding the weapon, they are the person inciting or sort of creating a pathway for that act to happen anyway.
Yeah, I don't trust the civil servants right now, especially after
Fair
the
enough.
free
Yeah, yeah.
trade agreement.
Well, and this
crazy.
and the
stuff with
biometric
Erica
immigration
and
stuff.
the
It's
immigration
just
stuff.
where we're
insane.
heading and the lies they just told
Yeah,
a minister
That's right.
and Parliament. Like they are accountable to the
Should be.
representative,
They
to
should
the
be.
minister,
Yeah.
because they represent us. Like it or not, if you voted for them or not, they are the representative of the people, and they are accountable to them elected officials, and they need to be telling them this is the truth, and they need to stop hiding things. They need to stop this radicalism, because I think right now I should have put a tinfoil hat on. But there is this is the problem. We talk about deep state. This is the problem. Like New Zealand First Act and National talk about everyone being equal, but in the healthcare system right now, I've got a friend of mine who's been trained as a nurse, and they're still teaching them and training them
Yeah.
to prioritise Māori people.
Cultural
for
safety.
Cultures.
Yeah.
And So this is the same thing. These unelected officials who are pushing their own agenda, and we need to take. And this is what I talk about. We need to take this country back.
Yeah, institutional capture.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a big believer in cutting the system.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, and this is the thing. You have these public servants that outlast the government.
Mm.
They'll be in there for 10, 15, 20 years. Do we need to take a more American approach where when the government's out, the bureaucracy's out, and then you bring in a whole
You
new
appoint
swath?
your own CEOs
And at the moment,
and-
the size of our public service, which we talked about right at the start, is way too big to justify it or feasibly achieve that. If we could lower this, like smallen our government, our public service, we could justifiably see an exchange or a handover between successive governments and public servants. And we could actually have a complete clear of house.
We do. We need. Well, the ministers are the executive in our system. So you have Parliament, the representative, and the ministers are the executive. So you got the system there already. We just need to be stronger in our political will and go, do you know what? We're going to get rid of these people, because everyone sits back and go, oh shit, we're going to be on the media. We actually need ministers, members of Parliament who actually got the leadership to say, do you know what? We're doing this, and this is my appointment, and you
That's
need to
right.
shut the hell up.
Because a lot of MPs are intimidated by those civil servants, right?
Especially
because
new
they
ones.
have,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have the institutional knowledge.
That's right.
And that they can kind of carry through each term. And so you come in as a new MP or as a minister, and you're like, well, I don't really know.
Trying
the
to figure out
ropes.
what's happening.
And so
Yeah.
you're looking around for someone to help
They
you. And
abuse
so
that.
those civil servants say, oh, I'll help you, and they've got the folder ready to go. And here's what we want you to know, Minister. And I can see that we are seeing some pushback from ministers. I mean, different parties, but like Simeon Brown, he's taken a lot of flack, over the medical council, right? But actually, it was a brave move, and it was a necessary move, and a lot of people in healthcare and medicine were wanting it to happen.
Brooke Van Velden did a similar thing with fire and emergency and
Yeah, that's right,
didn't
yeah,
reappoint. And there's the thing, they didn't fire these people as you pointed out last time. They just didn't renew their contracts. They didn't reappoint them, and they had bad outcomes. So why are we crying about them?
I'd fire them. If I got in and I was a minister, I'd fire them. The worst case, if someone came up to me and said, here's the information, I said, you're fired.
That's a Billy Brown
Yeah,
policy.
it's been an absolute
No,
fire.
because the thing is, like, you raised earlier, like, do they have the capability and experience to be a bigger part of New Zealand First?
Yeah.
What type of experience we want? We actually want Kiwis in Parliament. We want real leadership in Parliament.
That's right. Yeah.
Because the experience we've got now around politicians is not the people we want. We want people who are leaders, not listen to the bureaucrats, and actually find out the information and deliver the outcomes they promised the voter base.
Can you imagine a company, where the shareholders say, "Oh, hold on, what's going on? You haven't reported accurately what's going on," and we can't be fired. We're just going to carry on, and you can stay here as a shareholder if you want or not. But like that's how they approach it.
Oh,
They would never cut it in the corporate world.
No, I'd fire them. Oh, actually, you have to. Like, you've got to go in there, and who cares what the legacy media? We're not the politicians are not voted in by legacy media.
No.
And we shouldn't be shy and saying, you know what, piss off.
That's right.
Exactly.
Piss off. I am the one who's been elected by the people, and we're going to make real change. I don't care if you've been here for 10 years, 20 years. Piss off, because that's what we actually need. We need real people in Parliament who've got leadership skills to go, do you know what? You're not capable. Get the hell out. Do you know what? You're lying to me. Get the hell out.
I've been really, so what I was going to go to was I've been really heartened by a sense of vigilance from the public within, I say, the last even 3 years, where with these policies that we're talking about come up, like the homeschooling one, or even recently the conservation bill, which has had a lot of, lots of public attention to it, or the move on orders, or all this social media thing. And I think maybe 6 years ago, people would have looked at it and thought, oh, okay, it's fine, whatever. Some people still do. But I think that there's a growing sense within the public that we cannot give the government more power. And even in the most, let's give them, the benefit of the doubt, let's be nice to them, the public is saying, no, you have to be as precise, as clear with your vision and your wording and your legislation as possible, because I'm afraid that someone like Jacinda will come in, or the last Labour government will come in and abuse the powers that you're giving yourself.
Yeah, give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's the quote that says, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And I feel that there is an increasing sense of vigilance from the New Zealand public, and that's a fantastic thing.
But we just need to find a way to turn that cynicism, which is really...
It can be cynicism.
We need to turn that into responsibility and ownership. Because it's one thing to sit, be critical, be armchair critic.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some people sit, maybe too many people. But then what does it draw out of
The
us?
upside
Our
is
response
personal
It has to be
responsibility.
responsibility. It has to be showing up and voting. It has to be
Getting more
engaging.
engaged, from
Yeah.
even just at a civil society level, getting more engaged in the political process,
100%.
turning up to public meetings, stuff like
100%.
that. Yeah, asking questions.
Running for office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go.
well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what we've got to do. I don't know, and it was quite interesting. I was listening to Andy. I can't remember where we were. Andy, who's a MP
Andy
from New
Foster.
Zealand. Yeah, and there was actually a lot of people there around the homeschooling there and questioning about it. He gave the email out. You got people's information, and that's where democracy is actually
That's
working.
right.
I actually like New Zealand First because of that, because they're actually listening to the public.
That's right.
Yeah.
They have remits too, so each little electorate comes up with a policy idea.
That's right.
And then at the national convention, they vote on it too. Obviously, there's a bit more to go. Once it goes there, it goes to a board, and they talk about can this be a real policy? But they believe in their members and coming up with
It's democratic.
a broad range of what policies or bills should look like. I think that's awesome, and that's where we need to head. We need to be more engaged. And I don't care if you vote Labour, Greens, National, but you need to be more engaged. Yeah, and if you want real change, you've got to stop being on the sidelines and actually get in the game.
Yeah.
Big bill that is obviously contested at the moment that New Zealand First has brought forward is the definition of a woman bill. Definitions of a woman bill. I saw one of my favourite photos came out of Dunedin. They had a protest there. Someone had a big sign. It was the trans flag, and it said "Define D's nuts." And I thought that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you've spoken to it. You know,
Here we go. Yeah.
I don't think it played as well as I thought. But we spoke offline about the importance of protecting women's spaces, and especially by extension, children. Why, or how moving forward can we actually just bring that common sense to this conversation?
It's an interesting one. Do you think they were protesting the bill, being people in Dunedin,
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was a.
or they're protesting women's rights?
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, I think that's
Against
what they
women's-
are. That's
They're
ultimately
protesting
what-
against
yeah.
women's rights. That's what, and that's what they're doing. This bill is not anything to do with trans people. This bill is about defining what a man is and what a woman is. And people are out protesting, actually protesting against women. They're not protesting for their rights. The way to get common sense back is to get that bill in place to make sure that we protect men and women, and make sure we don't have men and women's spaces, because women's spaces are girls' spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think it's not a big, deep conversation.
No, seriously.
It's not a big, deep conversation. It's simple. Get the bill in place. A man is a biological male,
Man,
and a woman is a biological female. That is it. And if you want to dress as a woman, you're a man. Car pie, but you don't come into women's spaces. That's cool. If you want to be a woman, that's cool. That's no dramas. But you don't get to go into, if you're a woman and you want to be pretending you're a man, you don't go into men's spaces, because that can be just as dangerous for them as well. For them as well, because you don't want a man versus a woman in a boxing match or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. We don't need to discuss this in depth.
No, having
not a big thing. It's
having
like,
daughters
no.
myself, amen.
No. No.
Yeah.
It's crazy how these big national conversations that we're spending months and weeks on talking about what it's like. That was just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Done. Here we are. That's a woman. That's a man. Go. Don't touch your phone. Go.
And
Next
that's
problem.
why we want Kiwis back into Parliament, because most Kiwi people think this way.
Yeah.
It's not a
That's
big
right.
conversation. It's pretty easy. And they lose the numbers too when they want to. Most Kiwis, like I'm the same. If you want to be a man, you're a woman, ka pai. If you're
Go for
a
it.
man, all good. You lose the numbers is when you are pushing to these
Forcing
It's
it.
funny
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even at the peak of like that, the woke craziness around what is a male, what is a what's a man, what's a woman, the majority of Kiwis were still saying, nah, you can't like go around pretending. You can't, if people want to do that, they can, but you can't force it on other people. You can't force everyone else to accept it and believe that it's true. And that was at the peak of all of that. So I think it shows not just common sense, but courage on the part of like New Zealand First to have been quite upfront about that and just said, nah, people don't think that.
It's really interesting, because when I started posting in February, I got a little bit pushback when I started discussing this, but now everyone's supporting because people have realised it's going too far.
How much money would we have saved though if people had just exactly what Arian said? There's 3 big issues we brought up in the last 10 minutes. You've answered them all in 30 seconds each. Imagine if we were just able to do that at a government level.
No, we need more public servants. That's what we need.
And that's why you need actually common sense back into Parliament.
Yeah.
Because imagine if you had New Zealand First in there, it's pretty easy. Like, this is the problem we have right now. You've got Chris Hipkins, Chris Luxon, I say this all the time, first name, same fucking results.
Yeah.
Same fucking results. They're doing nothing. Chris Hipkins doesn't even know what he's doing. Luxon's got his hand. Who brought it up? I did a podcast with Cam Slater, and he told me Luxon walks around everywhere with his hands in his pockets. Now, every time I see him, he's got his hands in his pocket. He does nothing. He does nothing. They do all these focus groups, all this stuff. Just make a decision. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
And if the decision's wrong, the people who vote for you will end up bloody voting you out. If the decision's right, you get to stay in. Don't
Exactly.
waste our money.
And we don't even know what Labor wants either.
Your
The
money.
worst thing is national, they're thieves.
Yeah.
They're just stealing Winston's ideas.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting, eh? So ACT's doing the same thing. All of a sudden, ACT a few years ago were progressively wanting more immigration. Now they want tougher immigration rules,
Yeah.
and so does
Interesting,
National.
right?
Yeah.
And
'Cause
Winston's
it's
been,
polling,
talk-
it's
Winston's
polling,
been
you
talking
know?
about it
Yeah.
since
Day
longer
dot.
than I've been alive. Now, there's the Kiwi Kickstarter too.
Yeah.
The only difference between New Zealand First One and National is an extra $500, and I think National wants 12%,
12% compulsory Kiwi.
compulsory 12 and 12.
Yeah.
Six employer, six yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But 12% nonetheless, which is quite a lot, in my opinion.
As we see New Zealand First rise in popularity, the Greens stay sort of stable, both Labour and National fall and ACT fall a little bit. I very early on said the possibility of a grand coalition could be very real, drawn together by unpopularity. What do you think about that?
I think we're getting conditioned for it.
You reckon?
Yeah, well, the news has reported on it multiple times.
Yeah.
So when the news puts something out, what are they doing? They're conditioning for it.
Yeah.
They've talked about it over in Australia too to combat against Pauline.
Wow.
Yeah, keep
Cancel.
Albanese in and
The big
Pauline
talking
out.
about the uni party coalition.
yeah.
Yeah. They're conditioning for us for it.
Yeah.
And if Winston ever got to the point where he was a majority and he could perform a coalition, I think them two parties would freak out. And you can see that through the legacy media by pushing these thoughts out there.
Yeah. Because I think that they're looking at National Labour, and then if they need something else, or there had to be a third, which there wouldn't be, but opportunity. And that's the media darling that everyone is talking about at the moment.
Holy.
She can't even answer what a woman is.
No. Well, I remember her when they announced their launch. It was a Sunday or it was a Friday. 2 days later, she goes on Q&A on Sunday. She does Q&A. Tuesday morning, she goes on with Sean Plunkett. Everyone's like, oh, this new leader's amazing. Asked her what a woman is, can't answer it. And I said at the time, shortest campaign ever. I thought that was the end of her. But for some reason, they keep bringing her back.
The legacy media is.
Yeah.
But it's also because she's taking votes from Labor and the Greens, where certain people are disaffected. I
I
think.
think she's taking Labour from votes from Labour. The Greens have,
Well, there are some old school Green voters who are a bit tired of
Yeah.
the radical kind of rhetoric in the Green Party.
Yeah.
They're more environmentalists, I think.
When you look at these social numbers, they're not performing well.
Yeah.
But when you look at the legacy media, they're getting a lot of.
There's like six
Yeah,
stories
it's
this
fine
week.
now.
Proportion.
Six
But that's
stories.
unreal.
It's unreal. Like,
She's
you know,
everywhere.
like, it's strange. What's the agenda here? So I think they're pushing a uni party coalition. You can see that because I've heard it, seen it in Radio New Zealand, I've seen it on TVNZ, I've seen it on social media posts and stuff. They want a uni party. Winston gets them high numbers, they're going to be freaking.
Do you laugh when you see all the people screaming about we can't let Winston get in? What happens if Winston gets in? As if he hasn't been around for a long time already.
Yeah, I think
Where's this come from?
well, I don't know. I think they're just. I don't know. I think that's what the legacy media is like condition people to be scared of Winston. I think is a great idea. Like I don't back Winston Peters because it's my team.
Yeah.
I back it because I did my research and what's best for New Zealand. Is it all the policies that I agree with? No, I'm an 80-20 guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I don't think the fishing bill was a good bill. And what I mean by that, I just mean it wasn't a good bill for right now, especially when majority Kiwis are recreation fishermen. We actually want to push that right now before election. So I think
And
people
some fishing stocks need
yeah, like,
need to
you know,
recover,
Winston's
yeah.
a great idea. Why wouldn't you want it? He's been saying the same things and it's coming to life that we have major issues over the last 10 years. We've imported to between 1.2 to 1.5 million people into our country. It's a
Yeah.
lot of people. We're heavily into debt. You know, we need to keep key infrastructures in our ownership. He's been saying that for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, because he's been saying it longer than I've been alive, he's a populist. No, he's just some old guy who's been saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the worst thing to do is to vote Labor and National and expect different results.
Yeah, exactly. Fiscally, you might get something slightly different, but everything else culturally is trending the same way.
Same way. The only difference is Labor will get you there quicker in certain areas. National will get you there quicker in certain areas. And yeah, that's about it.
one thing that we haven't, we've talked about it briefly, but be keen to get your thoughts on it. You're the brown face of white supremacy to many Māori. What is your view on this TPM split, the schism, and the new Te Tai Tokerau Party? Do you think, is there any hope for Māori politics from Māori parties? Or is this the end of a very unsuccessful experiment?
Hopefully it's the end.
Yeah.
It's and it should never been started. We're really overrepresented in Parliament.
23%.
23%.
Yeah.
So how good's that? I think the party Māori in that split, I think the way, Big John, the puppet
John,
master, with his hand up Rawiri's ass, has destroyed Māori politics. They're just extremists. Like he did a post last night. He wants to give back every inch of Department of Conservation land back to iwi and hapu. There's some radical views, man. So hopefully it's the end of an era.
It's a lot of land, yeah.
We don't need them.
Yeah.
I talked about this before. Like, why would I need Māori are not a hive mind thinking. Like, I am no less Māori whakapapa because I vote centre than I am some radical on the left. But just because they cry, what I've worked out is, could probably go all over the show here, but what I've worked out is you are less Māori if you take accountability for your own action. You are more Māori if you believe colonisation destroyed your life.
Well, that's become the new definition, isn't it?
Yeah. But what I've come to realise is these are the minority of Māori who speak online. They're not the majority. Majority of Māori who I speak to think the same as me. They're sick and tired of the grievance politics. They're sick and tired of the victim mindset, and they want to be told something different.
Yeah.
Well, they live in the real world as well. So they're not always in social media comment sections complaining and crying. They're doing what you've talked about, which is going to work, showing up, being responsible, having ownership. They don't have time to come and complain about colonisation on every comment section that they see. That seems to be what people now feel, or I would say more general public seem to think Māori have that sentiment because of quite a small minority, very loud minority.
I think too, New Zealand First is backing that, dispelling that myth, because with so many Māori like coming forward, or people like Alfred Nato, Cook Islands heritage, it just kind of challenges this whole narrative, doesn't it?
Oh,
That, ultimately you've got to be Te Pāti Māori, you've got to be or maybe Greens at a minimum,
or Labour, like
or Labour.
I went to their Whale Samoa, where Elliot and Vicky and Esther got announced for running, and there's probably only like 5 white people in there. The rest are all like packed to the rafters, Pacific Islanders, and not one camera from Legacy Media.
Crazy.
I mean, like, I think this whole experiment of race-based, culture-based parties need to go.
Yeah. The identity politics.
Yeah.
Because then it bleeds outside of even just your heritage, where you happen to be born, who your parents happen to be, and then it becomes in who you like sleeping with. All of these things. It should be, who cares who's in your bed? Who cares who birthed you? What are you actually trying to do for the country? What are your policies? What are actually your values and your principles, your morals that you're leading with? I don't care about anything else.
I think there's a big difference too from the Māori party to Pāti Māori of today.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a big difference too.
Peter Sharples and Tariana Turia were, I had a lot of respect for them, even if I didn't agree with all of their policies, and I feel like there's just such a far cry now from where that party used to be.
Yeah, well, being a leader, a rangatira in Māori culture has actually been at the table, trying to get outcomes. Peter Sharples did that.
Yeah.
They sat at the table. What Rawiri and Debbie did was cry racism and said we can't form a coalition because they're racist.
Yeah.
While the Crown's supposed to be racist, that's what you tell us all the time, so you should be at the table no matter what. If it's Te Pāti Māori should be in coalitions if it's national or Labour, because they're at the table and trying to get outcomes for their people.
Yeah,
If they decided that we're not going to do that, we're going to be activists and just try to build up our base a bit more. No, get some outcomes.
They were going to have their own parliament for a little while.
Well, they're trying to still have their own parliament and their own court systems. And jail, well, no, they want to get rid of jail.
They want jail.
Yeah.
They want their own systems, but they don't want to pay for it. They also don't really want to have to live in a segregated society. They want to still be integrated socially, just not politically or economically.
It's quite interesting, like, I find this quite weird that people cry sovereignty, like these people, like Rawiri and Debbie, but then also they go to the Crown and ask for money. So what is it? Are you sovereign, or are you going to go to your master and ask for money?
Dependent, yeah.
Because I know what I am. I talk about this with my family all the time. I'm an Article 2 absolutist. I am sovereign. Like, I don't want the Crown anywhere near me. I don't want government anywhere near me. I don't want a handout. I want to work my ass off. And that's the mentality I think every Kiwi wants. Every Kiwi, no matter what your cultural background, should be in Article 2 absolutely. So we should be sovereign.
Yeah, the government is ultimately just a representation of the people, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we shouldn't. I was relying on. I can't understand their mentality. They do me head, don't they? Do me head. It's probably because I'm a racist.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
No, I hate
Am I
my-
right,
Oh,
Arian?
Here we go. Here we go.
I-
You know me,
I must
token
have
brown
a-
But
man.
are you a
Token brown
racist
man.
and a misogynist like Arian?
Yeah,
He's
well,
got a couple of hats.
Oh yeah.
It's the Iranian
Every
that
hat.
we can't get it out of him. He hates it every time women speak to
I
him.
just want to apologize as the white privilege at the table, guys.
Yeah,
thank you. I
he's straight
appreciate it.
from
Apologise for my
I
existence.
appreciate
Are
it.
you,
That's all down.
you British, English?
My dad's British and
Yeah.
mum's
You could feel it,
eighth,
eh?
eighth generation, European. New Zealand.
Could you feel the oppression coming off?
Oh yeah, it's like colonisation.
I felt a real heaviness in the room.
Yeah.
Every part of me feels guilty. I got to say, guys.
You should. I'm looking forward to when you wash our feet after this.
I find that interesting. Though, like I do get labelled that racist. I just find it really strange.
Yeah.
Like I posted a beautiful photo of my wife. People were like, "Oh, you're pulling out the Māori card." I was like, I've been Māori the whole time.
Yeah.
I've been Māori the whole time. My kids have been Māori the whole time. They go to Kura Kaupapa. We're at the marae probably more times than you've been in the last 3 years than last week.
Yeah.
The kids in that are in the marae probably 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the wife ensures we live and breathe Te Ao Māori. You know, they speak Te Ao Māori. My papa speaks Te Ao Māori, sorry. So we live and breathe this stuff, but I'm just not a victim.
Yeah.
Well said.
But that's the thing. It's easy to chuck a label on to disparage or to discredit. Oh, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a misogynist, this and that. Well, it's like my big thing that's annoying me at the moment is the whole idea of toxic boys, toxic masculinity. I'm like, it's just not real. There's no stats to prove it. You got a Netflix series that you point to of a young white boy who stabbed someone. That was made up. Like, if we want to look at knife crime, we know who's committing the knife crime. But yeah, you just label something, and then you cause a media hysteria. Anyway, look, we've talked for a while, conscious of your time, and really appreciate, like I said, it's you coming all the way here to talk to us. We've been enjoying your comments and your commentary for a while. What would you like to say is sort of your final gesture? We like to wrap up. Usually Arian does the final word, but we'll give you first shot. What's your final thought? What's your final word?
My final word is simple. Look in the mirror, take accountability for yourself. No one's going to lift the bloody boat for you. No one's going to lift the log. You need to be responsible and accountable for your own actions. Just go do it. Get up every single day and work your ass off, and you can achieve anything here in New Zealand. It's based on meritocracy. Just go do it and win.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I have to think of it for my What's your final word?
No, I've just I appreciate you coming here and giving us some of your time, and I'm encouraged because what I hear from the likes of yourself and others, we try not to be too open about support for particular parties in our organisation, but it's a breath of fresh air. Just hearing people give straight answers and answers that I think resonate with most Kiwis. We just actually, if they give you a bit of a chance just to actually express those views, they'll go, oh, you know what, that sounds like something I used to know. And I think we need that back again.
I don't know how much support at all. Been very vocal, very vocal about New Zealand First. Now, as an organisation, obviously we're neutral. As individuals, we're very aware we all carry a bias.
Yeah.
But I like I say, I've been appreciating your comments for a while now. It's really nice to hear from you, and nice to talk to someone who actually understands some of these big issues around infrastructure and energy crisis, but even the cultural issues as well, as opposed to just those really physical, civil issues that we see. So I'm really hopeful that we get more voices like yourself in a position where you actually can have the change that you want to have. And it's refreshing to talk to someone who wants to get into politics for what I believe to be very genuine and optimistic reasons. I think you carry an optimism and a belief in New Zealand that I think more people need a patriotism. So thank you for everything you're doing, and appreciate you coming all the way up. Over to our closer.
Very good. No further amazing words from me, other than I think the message of personal responsibility is probably
amazing words.
one of the most.
So you were saying
important.
amazing stuff before, you?
Yes, I was.
okay.
If anyone was listening, they were all incredible things I said. No, I think the message of personal responsibility is one of the most important that anyone can carry ever, whether it's in New Zealand or outside of New Zealand. It is a human message. So
Shout out to our Chinese listeners.
here we go. Yes, the 3 of them. Hello, CCP. Please be responsible. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Billy, for being here. Stay in touch. Stay in tune. We'll see you soon.
Wow.
There we go. I did
Usually
it.
he messes up the outro.
Yeah,
Usually
it's
it's like
always it's
he
English
starts
second
on
language.
on a slow decline and then he falls. And
It's
then
like
he,
a bit of poetry too.
you just watch it just
Yeah.
break up.
Yeah.
It's just